These are the latest styles nowadays. If you like them, just take a few. You are so handsome and your wife must be very beautiful. I will wrap this and your wife will definitely like it. As soon as the shop owner saw Lan Wangji walking into the shop, he knew that he was definitely not an ordinary person just by looking at his demeanor and appearance, and seeing him standing there staring at accessories for a long time, he guessed that he has a wife. When Lan Wangji heard the owner of the small shop say the word wife, that person's face flashed in his mind, and his heart suddenly sank softly. He thought about calling him his partner and wanted to explain that, but there might be trouble, so he simply acquiesced. Wei Wuxian has always been very casual about his clothes. After returning to Yinshan, although Lan Wangji often bought clothes for him, he was never picky. He would often pick up the nearest one when he woke up in a daze, but actually that's the clothing they took off when they were goofing around last night. As time went by, Lan Wangji got into the habit of finding out the clothes Wei Wuxian was going to wear the next day before going to sleep every day. Sometimes Lan Wangji would get up the next morning to prepare for him, but Wei Ying would grab Lan Zan's hand and not let him go when he was half asleep and half awake. Today, Lan Wangji passed by this accessory store on his way down the mountain back to Yinshan, and suddenly remembered that when he helped Wei Wuxian tie his hair yesterday morning, the color of his hairband was a bit faded. Although Wei Wuxian usually doesn't care about these things, maybe he won't find out if Lan Zhan replaced his with a new one, but Lan Wangji still wants to buy it for him. He caressed those hair ties, thinking of Wei Wuxian running towards him with a smile. Lan Wangji pursed his lips slightly. He wants to make Wei Wuxian look good. These, please pack them up. The owner of the small shop was stunned for a moment when he saw that Lan Wangji had selected some men's headbands, but he didn't intend to ask any more questions as long as he could make money, so he quickly took the money and handed the things over to him. That day when he returned to the quiet room and Wei Wuxian ran to hold him, who had been guarding the door for a long time. Though they were just apart for one day and there were lots of affection in the quiet room that night. Wei Wuxian held Lan Wangji by the neck and asked him to mute him. Second brother Lan, if you silence me, no one will hear anything. Before he could finish his sentence, Lan Wangji already silenced him with his lips. Lan Wangji watched his hair spread out messily on the pillow, and the scattered red headbands were entangled with his hair, like flowers blooming in the dark night. Lan Wangji intertwined his fingers and kissed him again. On the morning of the second day, Lan Wangji gently moved the person in his arms, and Wei Wuxian subconsciously followed him, muttering Lan Wangji's name. But Lan Wangji knew that he wouldn't wake up, so he helped him tuck the quilt and put the clothes next to him. Until Lan Wangji finished washing himself up and took the breakfast back to the quiet room, only then did Wei Wuxian sit up from the bed in a daze. Half asleep and half awake, Wei Wuxian went to grab the clothes, and when he was about to put them on, Lan Wangji came over to straighten his collar. Wei Wuxian came over to give him a kiss when he caught him. Lan Wangji said, "Go to the dressing table, I'll tie your hair." Lan Wangji took out the newly purchased headband yesterday. It was a bunch of braided red ropes, soft in texture and glowing with high-quality luster, with two bright red tassels falling from both ends. Wei Wuxian's eyes were half opened and half closed in front of the bronze mirror, and half of his face was pressed against Lan Wangji's arm. He didn't wake up leisurely until he felt that Lan Wangji had combed him well. Lan Wangji lowered his head, not realizing that Wei Wuxian was already awake, tilted his head and kissed Wei Wuxian lightly on the cheek. Wei Ying, go wash up. Wei Wuxian grabbed Lan Zhan's hand and said with a smile, Han Guangjun has already learned sneaky kisses. Lan Wangji simply admitted it, hummed, and watched Wei Wuxian run to open the food box for breakfast and saw the hairband swayed slightly following his movements. He can't help smiling. Wei Wuxian didn't notice that Lan Wangji changed his hairband all day, until at night when he took the juniors to go hunting as usual. When he crouched down among the bushes, Lan Xijing asked him, "Did Senior Wei change his hairband today?" Lan Xijue would definitely not ask someone else, but because Wei Wuxian has always been easygoing, and he has brought them through so much before, in the mind of these juniors, Wei Wuxian was regarded as a friend. Hearing his question, Wei Wuxian subconsciously said no, but he still raised his hand to touch his hair, and found two small tassels. He immediately remembered what happened this morning, and suddenly he lowered his head and laughed, thinking that Lan Zhan is really a guy who puts so much thought into tying his hair, and he didn't realize it all day. He suddenly wanted to see Lan Zhan now. So the haste in his heart turned into action. Wei Wuxian took the juniors to solve the evil spirit quickly. Before they cleaned up everything, Wei Wuxian hurriedly explained a few words to Lan Sijue. I have to hurry back, in case Han Wangjun is waiting for me. Wen Ning, please make sure everyone returns to Yunshan safely. Lan Sijue and the others watched Wei Wuxian leave in a hurry, and murmured, why do I feel Senior Wei seems very happy? Uncle Wen, do you feel that way? Wen Ning thought for a moment, then said, isn't the master so happy every day? Wei Wuxian, before he walked inside, Lan Zhan already heard someone calling him, and then he saw Wei Wuxian, who had a big similar on his face, asking, Lan Zhan, do I look really good today? He blinked at Lan Wangji in the candlelight and his eyes were unbelievably bright. Looking at him, Lan Wangji knew that he already knew his new hairband, and said, you look good every day. Wei Wuxian almost didn't know how to reply, so he leaned on Lan Wangji's shoulder and said mysteriously, when I was young, I heard from my mother said that children would like to dress up their little treasures, such as dolls and wooden figures, and like to put things on them all at once. Lan Wangji listened to him quietly. Han Wangjun, how old are you? Lan Wangji smiled and answered irrelevantly. Do you like it? Wei Wuxian smiled lightly and went to untie Lan Wangji's clothes, biting his ear and whispering. Then second brother Lan, don't untie it later.